So apparently 11 years of coaching women through infidelity makes you one thing: a little bit savage and completely done with the BS. I've worked with thousands of women, married women, loyal women, women who thought if he ever cheated, I'd be gone in a second, and then found themselves frozen, devastated, Googling, how do I trust my husband again after he lied to me? How do I stop checking his phone? Is it even possible to save my marriage after this? How do I get him to understand what he did to me? She's searching for answers, relief, and a way to stop feeling like she's losing her mind. And after 11 years of being the coach, she finally finds when nothing else works, I've learned a few things. Okay, a lot of things. Today, I'm sharing 11 brutal, honest, and marriage-saving truths that I've learned from coaching women through betrayal, infidelity, and the fight to reclaim love, trust, and connection, even when their husbands don't get it, won't own it, or stopped showing up a long time ago. And no, this is not one of those just forgive and move on kind of videos. This is the truth behind what it actually takes to stop living in fear and finally feel like yourself again. So let's go. If you're new here, I'm Soraya Bastian. I'm a neurosomatic specialist and yoga therapist. And for the last 11 years, I've been helping married women heal from the emotional trauma of infidelity. Not just to feel better, but so they can actually rebuild trust, restore connection, and save their marriage without needing to check his phone, walk on eggshells, or keep pretending they're okay when they're barely holding it together. Because betrayal doesn't just wreck your relationship, it wrecks you. It makes your heart race when his phone pings. It makes you doubt your gut, second guess your sanity, and feel like you're always waiting for the next hit. You're wired tight, stuck in loops, and smiling through dinner while your body's in full-blown survival mode. No sleep, no peace, no clarity. You can't rebuild a relationship when you feel like you're losing yourself trying to survive it. That's why I created Beyond Breath. It's not talk therapy. It's not some journal it out Band-Aid. It's a targeted, body-based approach that helps you finally shut off the chaos in your brain, stop the spirals, and feel like you again so you can figure out what you want and actually live it. After 11 years of being in the trenches with women just like you, I've seen some things, so let's get into the 11 things I wish every woman knew when she's trying to save her marriage after betrayal. Tip number 1, you can't fix betrayal by obsessing over what he's doing. I know. It feels like if you just had the full picture, if you knew every single detail, every text, every moment, you could finally stop feeling crazy. But I've seen this play out more times than I can count. Women who are constantly scanning for clues, double-checking stories, watching for tone shifts, tracking his moods like they're a weather app. And you know what it gives them? Nothing. Except exhaustion and a constant undercurrent of panic that never fully shuts off. You're not Sherlock Holmes. You're a woman whose world was flipped upside down. And that detective work you're doing, it's not bringing you peace. It's keeping you in a loop where you never feel calm, never feel clear, and never feel like yourself. I had a client, I'll call her Amelia. She came to me after 3 years of monitoring everything. I'm talking GPS, text, screenshots, passwords. She even had a spreadsheet with timestamps and suspected inconsistencies. And still, she felt completely out of control. Because here's what nobody tells you. When betrayal hits, your body literally stops knowing how to feel safe. Your shoulders are always tight, your chest is always heavy. You can't focus, your stomach's in knots, and the second his phone pings, boom, your brain's already bracing for the worst. It's not just in your head, it's in your body. And if you don't learn how to calm that chaos from the inside out, no amount of evidence or confessions will make you feel better. The healing doesn't start when he gets it right. The healing starts when you stop trying to control what he's doing and start reclaiming how you feel inside your own skin. That's exactly what we did with Amelia. When she stopped feeding the panic, when she finally knew how to calm her body instead of spiraling, everything changed. She didn't just feel more grounded, she felt powerful, and her marriage finally had a chance to breathe. Tip number 2, snooping is not a strategy. I'm not here to shame you. We've all done it. Checking his phone when he's in the shower, watching how fast he responds to a text, scrolling back through old messages looking for something, and for a split second, you feel better. You didn't find anything, so you can breathe again. Or you did find something, and now you feel like your heart is going to explode and you can't unsee it. Either way, you're still not okay, because checking his phone might give you a hit of relief, but it comes with a side of panic, obsession, and a whole lot of emotional whiplash. I had a woman tell me once, I don't even want to check anymore, but it's like my hands grab the phone before my brain can stop it. That's not you being weak. That's not you being broken. That's trauma. Betrayal literally rewires your brain to scan for danger. It keeps you on edge, convinced that if you just watch close enough, maybe this time you'll catch it in time. Maybe this time you'll feel safe. But that's not safety. That's anxiety disguised as control. And when you're stuck in that loop, checking, overthinking, spiraling, you don't feel connected. You feel trapped. Inside Beyond Breath, this is one of the first things we address, because until your body learns that it's safe to not know, you'll always feel like you're chasing ghosts. Real peace doesn't come from access to his phone. It comes from access to yourself, your breath, your body, your power. Let's keep going. Tip number 3 is one most women don't even realize they're doing, and it is waiting for him to understand what he did is a trap. You keep trying to explain. You've told him how much it hurts. You've cried, you've screamed, you've said it calmly, you've repeated yourself, and you still walk away from those conversations feeling like he just doesn't get it. And maybe he says he's sorry, but it doesn't land, because what you're really craving isn't the apology, it's the recognition. You want him to see the weight you're carrying, to feel even a fraction of the devastation he caused, to look you in the eye and finally make it make sense. And I get it, I really do. But here's what I've learned after 11 years of watching women get stuck right here. The more energy you pour into trying to make him see it, the more disconnected from yourself you become. Because every time he doesn't get it the way you need him to, you start wondering if your pain is too much, if you're too much. I had a client once who kept saying, if he just understood, I can finally start healing. And what we uncovered together was this. She wasn't just waiting for him to understand. She was waiting for permission to stop hurting. That shift changed everything. When she stopped needing him to validate her pain and started validating herself, she finally started to feel stable, safe, powerful. And ironically, that's when he started listening, because her energy shifted. She wasn't begging to be seen anymore. She was rooted, clear, and no longer willing to lose herself to get through to him. You don't need him to feel it all for you to move forward. You need to come back home to yourself first. All right, tip number 4. This one always surprises women. Wanting to save your marriage doesn't mean you've lost your self-respect. I hear this all the time. If I really respected myself, I'd leave. If I had boundaries, I wouldn't still be here. If I was strong, I'd be gone. But listen, the women I work with, they're not weak. They're not desperate. They're just heartbroken and trying to hold on to something that mattered. And somewhere along the way, they got the message that staying meant they had no self-respect. But here's what I've seen over and over again. It takes an insane amount of strength to stay and try to rebuild something after betrayal. It takes way more courage to say, I still want this. I want it to be better. I want to feel connected again, but not at the cost of myself. You can absolutely respect yourself and still want to save your marriage. It's not either or, it's both and. I had a client once say, I'm scared that if I stay, people will think I'm weak, but leaving feels like giving up on something I still believe in. And what we worked on together was this. You don't owe anyone an explanation. Not your friends, not your family, not even your past self. You get to decide what respect looks like for you now. And sometimes respect sounds like, I want to fight for this, but I refuse to lose myself in the process. So no, staying doesn't make you weak. It makes you someone who's choosing to rebuild with intention instead of reacting from pain. And that is strong as hell. And because you've been telling yourself you're fine, this next one is going to hit. Tip number 5, you can't heal what you're pretending isn't happening. I'm fine is one of the most dangerous lies women tell themselves after a betrayal. And I get it. You've got kids to take care of. You've got a job to show up for. You don't have time to fall apart. So you slap on the smile, push everything down, and hope that if you just keep moving, it'll go away on its own. But your body, it knows better. It shows up in ways you can't hide. You're snapping at people over nothing. You lie awake at 2 a.m. staring at the ceiling, replaying conversations and second-guessing everything. You feel numb during the day, then burst into tears because he forgot to take the trash out. Or maybe you're not feeling anything at all anymore, and that scares you more than the crying did. I had a client once tell me, I've been going through the motions for so long, I don't even know if I'm still in there. That hit me because I've been there too. And it's why I always say trauma doesn't show up as panic attacks or breakdowns. It shows up as silence. It shows up as pretending. It shows up as keeping everything together on the outside while you're completely unraveling inside. Your body is always trying to get your attention. And if you keep ignoring it, the symptoms just get louder. Inside Beyond Breath, we teach you how to stop pretending and actually start listening. Not to your overthinking mind, but to the quiet wisdom underneath all the chaos. Because healing doesn't start when you finally fall apart. It starts when you stop performing and finally give yourself permission to feel what's real. Let's move into number 6. This one flips everything you've been taught about trust on its head. Trust doesn't start with him, it starts with you. I know that's not what you've been told. Everyone talks about rebuilding trust like it's this big team project. He has to prove it. He has to be transparent. He has to earn it back. And sure, yes, his choices do matter, but what no one tells you is, if you don't trust yourself, you'll never trust him, even if he does everything right. If your gut is fried, if you're second-guessing every instinct, if you're constantly asking other people what to think or feel, then your version of trust is going to feel fragile, conditional, like it's always one missed call away from collapsing. I had a woman in Beyond Breath tell me, I don't even know what's real anymore. I used to be the most intuitive person. Now I don't even trust myself to know if I'm overreacting or underreacting. And that right there, that's the real damage betrayal causes. It's not just about him lying. It's about how that lie made you stop listening to yourself. How you started trusting him over yourself. Betrayal makes you override your intuition. It teaches you that your gut is unreliable, that your feelings are too much, and that safety lives in evidence, not in you. But when you heal the trauma underneath that, when you learn how to tune back into the wisdom in your body, the stillness, the signals, the deep knowing, that's when everything starts to shift. Inside Beyond Breath, one of the first things we rebuild is your ability to hear yourself again. Because when you trust you, you stop needing to micromanage him. And that's when real trust, the kind that actually lasts, gets a chance to grow. Let's talk about number 7. Here's the tip. You're not needy, you're dysregulated. Let's just name it. You're not crazy for wanting reassurance. You're not too much for needing to hear, I love you more than once. And you're definitely not clingy because your whole body tenses up when he's quiet, distant, or vague. What you are is dysregulated, and it's not your fault. Betrayal puts your nervous system on high alert. It makes your body feel like the world is no longer safe, especially when the person who is supposed to protect your heart is the one who shattered it. So what do? You look for certainty. You scan his tone, his expressions, his phone. You ask the same question 3 different ways, not because you're trying to be annoying, but because you physically can't settle until you feel safe again. I had a client say, I know he's telling the truth now, but my chest still tightens like I'm waiting to be hit by a bus. Yeah, that's dysregulation. That's what trauma feels like in the body. And unless you know how to calm it from the inside out, you'll keep looking to him to make it stop. But here's the problem with that. When your peace depends on him always saying the right thing or acting the right way, you're never really free. You're just surviving between triggers. Inside Beyond Breath, we teach you how to get off that emotional roller coaster. Not by numbing, not by avoiding, but by actually giving your body what it needs to feel safe so you can stop needing so much from him just to feel okay. Okay, tip number 8. Forgiveness won't work if your body still feels unsafe. So many women tell me, if I could just forgive him, I'd stop feeling so angry. If I could just let it go, I think we'd finally be okay. And I get it. Forgiveness sounds like the finish line. Like if you can just get there, you'll finally have peace. But here's what I've seen over and over again. You can say you forgive someone, but if your jaw is still clenched, if you feel your stomach drop every time you look at him, if you're still replaying the past every single day, you're not living your forgiveness. You're just surviving the silence. One of my clients said it perfectly. She told me, I had already told him I forgave him, but I wasn't living my forgiveness. I was still angry, still guarded, still trying to make him feel the weight of what he did. And that's what happens when you try to forgive without doing the real work underneath. Because forgiveness without safety is just self-abandonment. And I don't mean that in a fluffy, abstract way. I mean, you're swallowing your rage so he doesn't get defensive. You're shutting down your pain so you don't sound like a broken record. You're smiling and saying, it's fine, while your insides are screaming. That's not healing, that's suppressing. And eventually it leaks out as resentment, distance, shutdown, and shame. Inside Beyond Breath, we don't force forgiveness. We rebuild the emotional safety that makes real forgiveness possible. So if you're stuck in this loop where you've already said, I forgive you, but nothing actually feels better, this is why. Let's talk about number 9, because if your brain won't stop replaying every little detail, this next one is going to explain exactly why that's happening. You're not overthinking, you're in a trauma loop. You're not crazy for thinking about it all the time. You're not broken because you can't stop replaying that one conversation, that one message, that one night. You're exhausted mentally, emotionally, and physically because your brain is doing what it thinks it has to do to protect you. It's constantly trying to figure it out, trying to scan for anything you missed, trying to make sense of something that will never fully make sense. And the worst part, even when things are calm, even when he's doing everything right, you still can't turn it off. That's because it's not a mindset problem, it's a nervous system loop. And once betrayal sends you into that loop, you're on what I call the trauma highway. It's fast, it's automatic, and once you're on it, your body starts driving before your brain even realizes what's happening. Same thoughts, same feelings, same spiral over and over and over again. And unlike a real highway, there's no bright green sign telling you when the exit's coming up. There's no nice, clean 1 mile to peace marker. You have to create the exit yourself. And that exit, it's not paved. It's covered in potholes, tumbleweeds, and fear. It's unfamiliar. It's shaky. It's so much easier to stay on the road you know, even if it's destroying you. But you don't have to build that road alone. Inside Beyond Breath, that's exactly what we do. We guide you off the trauma highway and show you how to live again, how to feel again, how to actually be in your life without the obsessive thoughts, without the mental spirals, without the fear that safety is always one mistake away. Let's move into number 10, because if you've been bending over backwards trying to be good enough so he'll never cheat again, we need to talk. Tip number 10, you don't need to be perfect to be chosen. This one's personal for me because I did it too. I remember buying the lingerie, wearing it even when I didn't want to, trying to be sexy, present, chill, forgiving all at once, thinking that if I could give him everything he wanted, then maybe he'd finally choose me again. And if he chose me, then our marriage would be okay. Then I could finally breathe. Then I'd feel loved. But that never came because I wasn't there anymore. I had turned myself into a version of me I thought he wanted and lost the version of me I actually needed. And I see it all the time in my clients now. The ones trying to get back to normal by being easier, quieter, sexier, stronger. Like if they could just become the perfect wife, the pain would go away and the marriage would magically become loving again. But let me tell you something. You can't create real connection by abandoning yourself. You can't build a loving, intimate marriage by pretending you're okay when you're not. You can't feel chosen when you're shape-shifting to be what someone else wants you to be. And performing your way into closeness looks like agreeing when you want to scream, laughing when you feel like crying, initiating intimacy when your body feels shut down, because maybe this time it'll fix something. It's smiling through dinner with a pit in your stomach and tension in your chest. It's disappearing a little more each day while convincing yourself you're working on the marriage. That's not love. That's survival. Inside Beyond Breath, we stop the performing. We get back to you, the real you. The one who knows who she is. The one who gets to feel whole, grounded, and confident whether he's choosing you or not. Because the only way any relationship will ever thrive is if you're actually in it, fully, truthfully, unapologetically you. Tip number 11, if you're walking on eggshells, you're not in a relationship, you're in a war zone. And I don't mean yelling and chaos and slammed doors. Sometimes the war is quiet. It's subtle. It's the tension in your shoulders before he walks in. It's second guessing your tone, your words, your facial expression, because you never know what version of him you're going to get. I used to hide in the bathroom when I heard the garage door open, not because I was scared of him physically, but because I didn't know who was coming home. Was it the affectionate husband? Was it the cold, distant one? The defensive one? The guilty one? So I'd go in there and literally brace myself, take a few deep breaths, put my game face on. That's not peace. That's your nervous system trying to survive. And here's what I've learned, personally and professionally. You can't see your relationship clearly when your body believes it's still in danger. Like Dr. Bessel van der Kolk says, after trauma, danger becomes a default setting. Everything starts to feel threatening, even if it isn't. And when everything feels dangerous, you lose the ability to tell what's real and what's not. That's why the first thing we do inside Beyond Breath isn't talk it out, it's come down. Down out of the fear, down out of the story, down out of the loop you've been stuck in since the moment everything shattered. Because only when your body feels steady can you really ask, am I still in danger Or is healing being offered and I just can't access it yet? You deserve to know the difference, and more importantly, you deserve the tools to make that decision with clarity. So those are the 11 brutal truths I've learned over the last 11 years of coaching women through betrayal, infidelity, and rebuilding their marriages from the inside out. But I've got one more. Call it a bonus, call it a twist, call it the one thing I didn't expect to be true when I first started this work. But now it's the one thing I want every woman to know before she decides what's next. Let's talk about it. Bonus tip. You don't need years of therapy. You need the right tools. And before someone gets offended, I'm not anti-therapy, but I am against sitting in a chair for 52 weeks telling your story over and over again and still walking out to your car triggered by a song on the radio. I've had clients say I emotionally vomited every session, but nothing in my life actually changed. Because telling the story doesn't retrain your body. Crying in a chair doesn't prepare you for real life moments. The fight that starts in the kitchen over a look. The dinner where you're smiling but your brain is screaming. The moment he says something off and your entire body goes cold. That's where it matters. That's where healing has to live. And in most traditional therapy, the only skills you're accidentally building are the ones you're already stuck in. Hypervigilance, control, fear, reassurance seeking, monitoring every breath, every word, every silence. But the skill set you actually need is the one that helps you breathe through uncertainty. Speak without collapsing, trust without proof, love without abandoning yourself, because healing from betrayal isn't just about feeling better. It's about learning how to live again with your whole body, your whole voice, your whole self. That's what we do inside Beyond Breath. It's not just a program, it's a practice, a new language, a new rhythm, and the path back to a version of you who isn't surviving anymore. She's actually living. So if you're ready for that, not just coping, not just understanding, but changing, you already know where to go. So maybe you've just watched this whole video and thought, oh my gosh, this is me. Maybe you've been trying to forgive and forget, trying to be the perfect wife, trying not to fall apart, trying to survive, and still wondering why nothing actually feels better. And if that's you, I want you to know something. You're not broken. You're not failing. You just haven't been given the tools that actually work. Tools that aren't just about talking it out, but about retraining your brain, calming your body, and rebuilding trust, intimacy, and connection in a way that finally feels real. That's what we do inside Beyond Breath. It's where you learn to live again, where you stop performing and start healing, where your marriage stops feeling like something you have to fix and starts becoming something you want to stay in. So if you're ready, truly ready to stop surviving and start rebuilding, click the link in the description and let's do this work together. And if this video hit home for you, if you felt seen, if you felt something shift, go ahead and subscribe, like this video, share it with a woman you know is silently struggling, because this is the conversation we should have been having a long time ago. And we're just getting started.